Hello, YouTube world, actually, phone. Hello, phone. I'm talking to my camera or Josie. I'm talking to myself. See, I like talking to myself. All right, fine. No. So what was I doing? I lose track. What was I? I don't know. What was I going to talk about today? It's just Josie here, your yoga artist, pseudo-athlete, vegan chick, saying hi. You can press the subscribe button if you feel like it. And what was I going to say? I have no idea. I lose track. Oh, no, just kidding. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about black and white. Yin and yang. Good and bad. Our brains, we want to put things in these little categories. These categories of good and bad. But it's not that simple. It's not that simple in this world. Things are not really black and white. They're not necessarily good or bad. I've had several experiences in my life, quite a few, where it's like, could label it as an awful experience. But then in the end, it turned into something great. Like, if that awful experience had not happened, this wonderful experience would have never happened. For instance, 2 car accidents. So the first one, awful, hit by a drunk driver, car went 50 feet, smashed into a brick building. I survived with minimal injuries. I did have some injuries and I was in a lot of pain for quite a long time afterwards. But because of that pain from that car accident, I found yoga. If that had never happened that way, I may never have found yoga. I also, because of that car accident, happened to be at a laundromat and saw a post for an art show, these artists, and I ended up going because of that car accident. If I hadn't been in that car accident, I would have never been at that laundromat. And that changed my life as well and turned into all these wonderful things. Okay, the second car accident that happened, and I was hit by a high school student, sideswipe, my car did a spin and smashed into a pole. And I'd only had the sucker for 2 months. But ironically, someone happened to be on their bicycle riding by someone that I kind of knew. But because he was riding by, he stopped. And I barely knew this person, but I kind of broke down and started crying on his shoulder, and we ended up becoming extremely good friends. And he also was my greatest success as a yoga teacher. And if that second car accident had never happened, we may have never connected like that. And I changed his life, he changed mine, and it was, again, awful experience turned into something beautiful. So always keep that in mind. Another example is traveling Peru. It was like this awful. I still think it was awful. A lot of it for me was awful because not only did I battle my own sickness, but I ended up catching a flu in the airports, and so I had sinus problems and chest problems, and I was so sick the whole time, and we were roughing it, and it was in a lot of respects it was an awful experience, but it opened my eyes to a lot of things that have changed my life in beautiful ways. So again, it's not always bad or good. A bad thing can end up being a beautiful thing in the end. So keep that in mind. When hard times hit and awful things happen, it can be a beautiful thing in the end. Another example was an art show. I planned this show for 2 months. I advertised for 2 months. I worked so hard, and opening week, she canceled the show on me. I had bands booked. I had made flyers. I had spent ridiculous amounts of money. I had advertised. I had so many people coming. I had never been so excited about an art show in my life. And then she canceled it on me, and I was devastated. But in the end, because of all the advertising I did for that show, I met and talked to so many people that I would have never known and never talked to, and got to know all these awesome people that I'm friends with, you know, and so again, I was devastated, and it was an awful experience, and I was really upset that this show that I worked so hard on got canceled. But in the end, I would have never put myself out there and gotten to know all these people if I hadn't worked so hard on that show that never actually happened. Now, those are just a few examples. I mean, the reality is people don't change unless they're a little bit uncomfortable. So these bad experiences often can turn into really beautiful good things because they make you a little uncomfortable, like my Peru experience, roughing it. I was so uncomfortable, it was so awful, but for me it changed my life, and it opened my eyes, and it turned into something beautiful because I was so uncomfortable. It's like, so us human beings, we have to be a little bit uncomfortable to change a little bit. And so those were just my thoughts today about good and bad, because our brains so quickly like to put things in little categories, little boxes, nice and tight. This is an awful experience, this is a good experience. But it's not that simple. There are forces at work in this world that none of us can explain or understand in our human material form. Anyway, I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to say. I hope that you're having a really awesome morning, day, night, whatever it is, and I hope that you keep that in mind when awful things happen, and you breathe through those awful things and hope that in the end it leads you to something better. Love, light, peace,